And that's one of the, let's say, directives that I take in this book, and under the slogan, which I'm probably writing it, is why is it that we are still not thinking, which is different than positing and perhaps affirming a zone of unthinkability. Now, in saying this, I'm concerned and worried, because I like to worry texts. You know, worry in English also means where you're really prodding and working with text. So you and I would have to read Blanchot together in order for me to really enter into this conversation. But I think that I've drawn a certain limit, or I'm working and negotiating the boundary. And I won't go to the extent that I have any control of or know where I'm going here, to what has been zoned off as the unthinkable. I can't go there, and which is not to say that I don't make rhetorical moves and maneuvers. I work with metonymies. I can't go certain places, so I'll affect displacements and shifts, and work with synecdoches. Like, I might read the telephone as a kind of strange figure for the Nazi state, and how certain calls for execution were created over the telephone and so on. But so I will find substitutive tropes, but I don't, which might suggest there's something that's not being thought. But unthinkability, I think, is a trope that needs to be reinterrogated and resubmitted to discussion in a very rigorous way, you know. So that would be a provisional response. Yeah.
If I may,
Please.
answer as well a little to excuse for my bad English. Some people know it already, but others know. I think that in the sentence of Blanchot, I understand that Auschwitz is unthinkable in the way there is no possibility to think of it within the frame of our thinking of any meaning, nor of any history. And in this sense, it is also the end of history. Because Auschwitz was the will to put an end to an history and to any meaning of a previous history, and to start a new history, a new musical history, you know. And I would add to the sentence of Blanchot, I think, according to what Avital says about unthinkable, Auschwitz is unthinkable in that way, but we have to think of Auschwitz as unthinkable in that way, you know. That there is no to make a paradox, but we have to think of that, and we have to start to think in the sense Heidegger says, why are we still not thinking of something like that? You know? And in the same context, I would add that Auschwitz is to the will to put an end to the relationship between bodies. Because the dead of Auschwitz are gone in smoke. To their bodies is being refused even the funeral. The funeral, the grave, is a place for a body. Is a dead as body. Auschwitz is a negation even of the body of the victim, than of any meaning of their body. Yeah.
So, yeah, Steve.
Thinking about the idiot as the one who's alone, and then the question is, who is the other of this one who is alone? And if is the other the one who testifies, but somehow shares in the experience of stupefaction, and is in this mutuality, a surmounting of their aloneness without it becoming community in that sense in which Professor Nancy
Mhm.
criticizes. And what kind of discourse can such being with sustain?
Well, what's perhaps fascinating and troubling at the same time is that the idiot is one of the great exemplars of Mitsein in a strange way. He has community everywhere, but he's
Everywhere,
he
nowhere.
everyone he has seduced everyone and their mother.
Yeah.
Everyone loves him. He creates community everywhere, and as did the one on which he's based, Christ. Right? There's the children adore him. He attracts everyone, and yet there's a kind of communicability that makes everyone anxious, as if idiocy or epilepsy were contagious. So there's also a kind of phobia. There's a double movement in his sociality, so to speak, which is that he gathers everyone, but also he becomes a kind of pharmacon or a scapegoat and a kind of phobic body. But what interests me, and this goes along maybe with Freud's essay on Dostoevsky and masochism, is Freud at one point says that masochism is the basis, in some ways, of ethical sociality. That's a little bit of my translation from the German. Ethical sociality. In other words, I also try to track a kind of lexicon of sociality that the idiot stages. One thing that the idiot is known for, let's say too quickly, is he's very trusting.